not lagging? Because it seems like the network is a bit slow if I would need to change networks.
No, your audio is perfect.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, for joining us from today. I'm super excited for this session because it's something that I love so much, and it's something that I've had a good number of years doing. Somebody's excited to talk about resumes, CVs, as it pertains to career professionals, to freelancers, because it's all about personal representation, right? And so this is one of those sessions where you have my full attention. So come with your questions, whatever they are, we will do justice to them. All right, so today we're going to be looking at, building a resume that sells your value, meaning they are resumes that do not sell your value. And we'll find out what the difference is between the two of them today. So this is a workshop designed on translating your experience. So whatever experience you've had, various spaces, we're going to be translating them into value, not just value, because it's not enough to be valuable. If you're not clear on what you do, you won't get the job, even if you're very talented. So we're going to look at it from the perspective of clarity and, more importantly, confidence. People can tell how confident you are from the words that you use, the identifiers that you use, right? So using words like if or maybe on your CV, of course, you will come across as someone that is uncertain of either their capabilities, their experiences, and most importantly, their achievements. All right, so today we're going to do justice to that. So I'd encourage you guys to be very attentive, and by all means, draw my attention to segments you need more clarity on, and please prepare your questions. All right. So the 6-second first impression, of course, for social media is like the 3-second first impression, meaning for every content you put out, it takes 3 seconds to either get their attention or to move their attention somewhere else. But for the resume or your CV, it's a 6-second. What that means is
Okay, it looks like there's a
to
bit of
stuff
lag with
in
your audio.
the European regions, especially. Okay, so let me just swap the networks then. Just give me a second. All right, can you hear me now? Thank you. All right, so I've done a quick network swap. I'm hoping that this is a lot better than the other one. All right, so as I was saying, if you're applying to anything in Europe, as much as I have templates that I've worked in Europe, I would advise that if you can make use of the Europass template, it helps a whole lot. That's where the 6-second first impression comes in. Sometimes some people are template biased, right? And some people are they come from a very old perspective, and some come from a narrow perspective. I say old because when people have a standard where they want to see your religion, they want to see your picture, and then I say narrow because they just want one template and one template alone. Is it fair? No, but it's not really about fairness. It's about you getting the job at the end of the day. So you want to do your research in that aspect. So, but if that is not the case, a template that at a glance they can see at least your core skills. The first thing they could see is your core skills. They can see in your professional summary a few of your qualifications highlighted. You can feel free to make those text bold. That draws their attention to want to read through. All right. I tell people oftentimes if your resume is centered, you want to put important details first. But if it's not centered, if it's a one-pager, amazing, right? So that saves them the stress. So what story will your resume tell is a very big question. It's not enough to have a resume. You have to understand that the kind of content that drives social media now are storytelling, and it's the same MO when it comes to resumes. So in this digital age, recruiters spend an average of just 6 seconds scanning a resume before deciding whether to read on, because they have a bunch of resumes coming in. But in scenarios whereby they have automated systems where they scan your resumes and then they have filters. Of course, they can't filter from like 1,000 registrations or 1,000 applications. They can't filter it down to less than 100. But for example, they will still not want to go over 100 resumes with their eyes. So when they scan for the first 6 seconds, they decided they're going to go through. So you must prioritize immediate value and relevance. Is why I said at a glance, your core skills should be seen, your educational qualifications, certification should be seen, and then that would prompt them to go and see your experiences or your achievements in this case. So a great resume is instantly compelling, not just comprehensive. It's not enough that you want to be concise, right? You want to use lesser amounts of words so the pages are reduced. That is fantastic, right? But it has to be compelling. It has to be compelling. Sometimes people go as far as even making their font size quite small just so it meets the 1-page mark. I don't advise that. If your achievements are so much, it scales through into 2 pages, maintain the 2 pages, just make sure that it is very compelling, not just comprehensive. All right. So I'm going to just drop this question. Feel free to engage on it on the comment section. What is the single most important message your current resume conveys in the first 5 lines? Right. So if you have done your resume before for any role, just check it. Tell us on the comment section, what is the single most important message your current resume conveys in the first 5 lines? Is it just your name? Is it your LinkedIn URL? Is it your location? Or is it just the word professional summary that meets those first 5 lines? Tell us on the comment section. So we're going to look at the true purpose of a resume, right? I think what Dr. Miles Monroe has said, if the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is what? Inevitable. So let's try to understand what the purpose of a resume. Of course, I believe everyone on this call knows the difference between a CV, which is a curriculum vitae, and a resume. So a CV basically houses all your experiences, all encompassing. Whether you were first in engineering, then you transitioned to economics, then you went to finance, they are all on a CV. So it's quite bulky. Of course, sometimes when you're applying for jobs, recruiters make the mistake of using those words interchangeably. But in each case, whatever they ask you, they ask for a CV. Don't assume they made a mistake. Give them a CV because they may just be looking for something different as opposed to just your experience for that particular role. But if you have the opportunity to send more than 1 document, I'd recommend you send both the CV and the resume. So, but what's the true purpose of a resume? So your resume is not a complete life history, right? While to a certain degree your CV is that, your resume isn't. It is basically a strategic tool designed to achieve one goal, securing an interview. Meaning, if your resume is beautiful, if your resume is using a fantastic font, that's not the achievement. You will classify it as an achievement only when, if and only when, your resume gets you an interview. So a lot of us may make a boast on how I've applied for so many jobs. In a week I applied for 100 jobs. My God, fantastic. But if you're not getting interviews, those numbers are irrelevant. I even feel those numbers will make you depressed, right? So refrain from counting how many applications you have made to start counting how many interviews you've bagged. And more importantly, of course, how many jobs you get at the end of the day. All right. So targeted marketing is the very first thing we see here. It must be tailored to a specific role and company. Oftentimes, we make the mistake of not using that executive or professional summary we have at the beginning of our CVs. Is so robust or is so bogus. It's not targeted to any company. As a recruiter, if I see my company in your professional summary, I feel, ooh, okay. So this wasn't what they didn't just go and dust the resume and applied, right? They took their time to insert my company's details into it, right? You should also tailor it to that specific role. Of course, there's some experiences you may have had. For example, you're applying to be a business analyst. Fantastic. But then you have experiences of being a data analyst before, or a data clerk, or an economist. You find a way to make use of those experiences and relate it to business analysis. For example, in economics, right? You may have done econometrics, you have used SPPS or Strata. You bring that in and talk about how you've been able to manage, right, data, various kinds of data, either it's time series or panel data. You spell that out. just leading you back to the data relevance in business analysis if you don't have so much experience in that field. All right. So that's what you will want to do. Don't say, oh, I have just one experience in that field. The other things can be tailored. But if it can't be tailored, don't put it in. So you're not making your resume bulky and of less value. Value proposition. It sells your skills and ROI, which is your return on investment, not just your past duties. All right. Now, most times we just go on the internet. I want to apply for communications intern. You go search on Indeed. Indeed, what are the responsibilities of flex jobs? What are the responsibilities of a communications intern? And after searching, we just copy and paste on our resumes. Nah. If I were a recruiter, which I am not, you're lucky I am not. If I was, I'm sure I would have been very brutal. However, if I see on the resume, right, that you're having more than 4 experiences for your most recent job role, I feel like you're saying too much. 3 experiences is fine. So what you have pointed, the bullet points can be more if you have so much more achievement. So on that note, tell us everything. Tell us the skills, tell us what you learned on the job, and most importantly, tell us the changes you made, right? Oh, by my input into XYZ, we're able to move customer retention from 30% to 70% in 3 quarters. That's what we want to hear. Not I managed 10 people, I managed correspondence of the office because you're an office clerk. It's way more than that, right? There's future positioning. It showcases where you are going, so not just where you've been. So this is why I tell people, you have to have a continuous process of learning. What that does for you is that it shows the recruiters that when you come on the job, you're going to learn and be better, right? So you're going to be showcasing to us where you have, not just where you have been, where you intend to go. For example, if you've had all your experiences, for example, as a data intern, data clerk, data analyst, and you're applying for a role of business analysis, I should see a couple of courses under business analysis, right? Or probably a degree in business analysis. So yes, you have not gotten the job, you don't have the work experience, but you have the educational qualification for it. So show us where you're going to, right? It's perception management. This controls how a potential employer views your professional narrative. Some kind of words that we use, some identifiers are so terrible. They are so generic. They hear them so often. Surprise your potential employer. All right. Words like manage, 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 manage. We hear it so much. Can you refrain from that? And even if they want to see the word managed, right, on your resume, it should be accompanied with data, percentages, monetary figures, just something that shows impact beyond just, the typical experience. Because what should set you apart from the next candidate for that particular role is not the fact that you have worked, it's the fact that you have worked well. So by all means, you have to manage the perception, because how they perceive you is how they will relate with you. Sometimes our words feel like we are begging. I see some cover letters, templates on the internet, and I'm wondering, are you begging for the role or you're confident on the role? As many of us that may be on this platform that apply for jobs on Upwork, one of the things you do is that you spell your own availability. You make the employer feel like, I have so much things on my hands right now, but I'm available to jump on a call on Tuesday by 12 noon and maybe on Thursday by 1 p.m. your peak. Right? That doesn't mean it's possible that next week you don't have anything you're doing with your life, but just because you want to manage the perception of that employer, you go that route. So it's the same thing for your resume, because it's what they will see that they will call for you. And if you're not managing it properly, if you're coming out as if you're begging, sorry, like your life depends on the role, you're not getting it. Because if you beg them to come in, you will beg them to stay. People don't want that. People don't want that. People want team members that they have like a consistent transforming curve and learning curve as well. This is why I talked about future positioning in what you are doing. So far so good. Let's check. So I asked a question initially, right, that I wanted a few responses from. So tell us. I said, What is the single most important message your current resume conveys in the first 5 lines? Let me see if I can copy it and drop that on the comment section so you guys can engage on it. All right. So after that, we'll move on to the common pitfalls, like mistakes that cost interviews. Because a lot of you have amazing experiences, fantastic achievements, but never been called for an interview. Or sometimes you have been called for interviews, but you were only called to be lambasted. I have a friend that got called for an interview, and then the recruiter, I think the secretary to the recruiter or something, texted him like via WhatsApp, because I think he provided the WhatsApp number, and she said, "We called you because you have the qualification, but we can't give you the job because it seems like all your response we carried you and we put it on AI, just to check the AI percentage, and you had 70 something percent of AI written content, and they're also sure now if these experiences are really yours, right? Why? Because it's not human content. Now, while it's not a crime to use AI to draft your resumes and your CVs from time to time, you want to consider that the person at the back, that's of the recruiter's end, it's not you. They may not be as pessimistic as you are to AI. Some people don't even want to hear AI. So at the first glance, you're gone. I've worked with an HR manager. I won't tell you her HR agency so that you don't have that fear when you're working with her. But when we submit a CV to her company, right, when you're applying for a job, she makes sure that, of course, she won't run your CV. But when she gives you a questionnaire to fill, and she sees that your responses, right, because the questionnaire is quite bulky, so your responses are not human generated, she flags you off. She doesn't even care if the employer already liked, what was on your, resume at the time. She would tell the employer, she find a reason to make the employer understand that, you're not capable, right? And I pray that would not be the case for any one of us here. So common pitfalls, mistakes that cause interviews. So avoid these things: overloaded text, dense paragraphs, tiny fonts. I made mention of the font already, right? Don't make your paragraph so much. There is no achievement you want to write that shouldn't be much, that should be more than 2 lines. If it's more than 2 lines, break it into another achievement. Tiny font, you shouldn't use anything less than 12 if you're asking me, right? But in the case where maybe it seems like your content is drafted into 3 pages beyond 2, maybe you can have some segments written in 11 points, but most of them written in 12 points. So focus on white spaces and concise bullets. All right, make sure that they're not too much margins. One of the things I do is I make CVs or resumes landscape, so you have a larger margin to work with, right, for that particular resume. So you want to take that into consideration. Generic objectives, replace vague seeking challenging roles, phrases with a powerful one. So those kind of things that seems like I mentioned, those are things like you're begging for the role, take them out, right? Come off as powerful, come off like you know your stuff, whether you know it or not. I have a friend in Canada texted me yesterday and said, "Oh, more, bro, I got an interview, I got an internship opportunity. I'm going to be starting on Monday," after all the plenty lies that I said during the interview, right? And we laughed about it, right? I'm sure one or two of us may have lied on interviews before, right? But he came off as powerful with a lie. So, but now he has to defend it, of course. So his intent is going to use the weekend to do a crash course on the tools he already said he has experiences with. So at least he has like a starter. So, of course, if you don't come off as powerful in the things that you say, they will just feel like when you come on board, people will trample upon you, and that would not be any employer's desire, right? No measurable results. I often tell people, if you're having 4 responsibilities from a particular job role written down, at least 2 should have figures, right? Percentages, if it's monetary, if it's in numbers, 2 in 100, had 2,000 plus impressions, stuff like that. So listing duties without showing impact or scale makes your contribution invincible, because what would draw their attention is those numbers. Imagine you see, so there's this my friend, her name is Fumi. You can check her online. Her name is Fumi Maria Betiku. She is a sales executive, right? In case you're looking for a consultant. Now, she gave birth 2 months ago, and the month she gave birth, right, she was still working. They gave her a leave, but she said she wants to be working. Now, in that month after she gave birth, she did a 370+% turnover in that month. She has never done that in all the other months. So that actually is a blessing, right? But something of that nature, you see 370+% turnover in a month, you will be attracted. And it's not a lie, what she said is not a lie, right? She's not a kind of person. But if you are like the other friend that I said that lied and his interview and got the job, well, the peace of the Lord be with you. I don't know how you're going to meet that mark. His own was a tool, but this is an actual experience. Of course, when you come on board, they will have the expectation of you, so please don't lie. All right. And so make sure that you have measurable results, right? Inconsistent designs, varying fronts. I can tell you, never, this is a very big mistake most people make. I've seen resumes that have like 6 fonts, and I'm wondering, are you trying to impress me? It's not a fine and applied art role that you're applying for, right? 1 font is more than enough. What I do is this, and I'll tell you this, most people don't know this, right? Every single industry, not every single industry, most industries have a particular color that they use that is appealing to them. Sometimes their softwares they use to run your CVs have these colors already put in place. So when you send your resumes or your CVs to them and they can't pick that color, that is already reducing the percentage of what they are vetting your CV for. So what I do most times is so that I can make the headings, so I can make the job roles, the companies, the dates a different color, right? While the content standard black. That different color has to mirror the color of the industry. I can tell you that, of course, we know climate is green, right? Forestry is green, engineering is green. So some parts of computational engineering, this one involves blue. Of course, nurses. So you check this thing before you apply for a job. If you didn't know that before, please know that now, right? And if you're on this call and I may have walked with you to do a CV before and you saw a strange color, yes, that is why the color is that way, right? Okay, so we have the power framework for high impact resumes, right? So of course we have SMART goals, we have pestle analysis, we have so many things. So why not resumes? Why won't resumes have their own, right? Their own abbreviations, for lack of words. So position yourself. That's the first thing. That's speed. You have to define your target role. It will be absurd that your resume is tilting towards 2 things. I see some opening the professional summaries, right? And you're saying a dedicated software engineer and sculptor. And I'm like, software engineer and sculptor. Okay. So which one are you applying for to us? The software engineer or sculptor? Those 2 disciplines, there's no relationship. Unless you're saying you're sculpting, you're sculpting codes, or you're sculpting. I really don't know what you're sculpting. But it's funny now, right? But it's a mistake that a lot of people make. I kid you not. So you want to make sure that you define your target role, define the industry, right? And the specific problems that you solve. Let me tell you one simple thing. Some of you that are based in Nigeria that have done your NYC program, sometimes job look out for if you have done a contract work before, if you're applying for a contract role, or if you're applying for a contract role, they will check if you have done internship before. Turn your NYC to an internship. If there's a segment in your CV that tells whether it is full-time, just like the way LinkedIn does it, full-time or contracted, please state it contracted if you're applying for a contract role. If you're not, still a contract role is not bad, but don't call it part-time because it was full-time for you. Your life depended on it, under the sun or in the rain, right? As the song said. Outline your value, identify your measurable achievement, and quantify the impact you delivered. I talked about percentages and numbers. Achievements, not duties. Achievements, not duties. So let's get a buzz on the comment section. Type achievements, not duties. So let me be sure that I'm not talking to myself. Achievements, not duties. Achievements, not duties. 1 or 2 responses, and then we'll carry on. Right? Achievements, not duties. Let's be sure that we're not all preparing resumes that just highlight duties. We'll go and copy it from Indeed, from FlexJob, from ZipRecruiters, what the normal responsibilities of those roles are. Achievements, not duties. Thank you very much, Christabel. One more response: achievement, not duties. Achievement, not duties. So if you are having your resume currently, you may want to go and check that. All right, achievement, not duties. I see that today's audience were very shy. Hopefully, we will, come out of our quotes and be more engaging. All right. So I've looked at P. I've looked at O. That's a position yourself. We've looked at applying your value. So we're going to look at right with focus. Tailor every bullet point to the job description's core requirements. Make sure there's a relationship. So the essence of them telling you what the job role, they'll tell you the responsibilities, right? They'll tell you the qualifications. They'll tell you the requirements. They are telling you these things not just because they want to catch crews. No, they're not telling you these things also because they want to just populate that application field. No, they're telling you these things because they want you to tailor what you are doing to what they want you to do. There should be some certain level of semblance between the experiences you've had and that of the requirements of the role you're applying to, right? E stands for elevate presentation, ensure clean structure and legible fonts that they could see. Don't say because it's fine, it's fine and it's not visible, it's irrelevant. Optimal use of white spaces, optimal use of white spaces, optimal use of white spaces. All right, I can tell people, if I recommend, if you're maybe at entry level, you don't have so much experiences, of course a one pager having 3 different columns is fantastic for you. But if you've had experience 3 years, 5 years, and it's so much, then you can still achieve a one pager. The only way you would do that is by making sure that you're using a landscape paper size, not the portrait. So that way you have a lot more content to write, and at a glance they see a lot more than they would have. All right. And if possible, when you're applying for jobs, turn your CVs into pictures. Because check that the job would ask you, the possibility. Why I say so is sometimes when you apply for a job, they store those resumes and CVs in their Google Drive. And when you open a document in a Google Drive that is one page, of course, 2 pages, 3 pages, of course, it's not the whole page that shows up. It's like half of the page. But if it's an image, right, everything comes up, then they have to zoom in. So that if it's a one pager. If it's not, please, maintain the original standard of making sure that you're using the landscape. And then our last thing here, which is R, says review and refine. Proofread meticulously and gather critical feedback from peers or mentors. When I work with people, when I do their resumes and CVs, right? So of course, because I am a writer and I'm an editor, I have 6 to 7 writing tools, extensions connected to my Chrome, because now they're going to be connected to my comments. If you were in the session, I talked about AI, right? I talked about some tools that will, work harder, work smarter, not harder. Comment is a revolutionary tool, right? It's just like Chrome, but just like you have an assistant that can do things for you and not just hear what you have to say. No shades to Chrome. All right, so review and refine. You want to proofread. You can some of these extensions or plugins are free, right? You can get, I think you can get Grammarly for free, or you have like a limit to it. You can get Grammarly for free. You can get besides Grammarly, I think you can get Qbot. I think so. I'm not very sure. I have some that are paid, so I can't really even tell the difference between those that are free or paid. I'm paying for them because I'm using it to get money, right? I don't see why you can't pay for a tool that you're not using it to get money, unless it's something you're using consistently. All right, if it's your resume, it's just your resume, you're doing just one resume, you don't need to pay for a tool. Just find a free one that would assist you, or you can come and meet me and you pay a fee and I'll do your resume and CV for you. All right, so moving on. I think I have a few, maybe I have 1 or 2 persons just I've done the resume for. So it would be nice for them to maybe give you a testimonial if they've gotten interviews, if they've gotten jobs. It would be fantastic. So storytelling, using the STAR method to detail impact, right? Situation. So I would use this word. So we used to use the word managed a lot, but I talked about not using managed a lot. So let's find another word. Coordinated, right? So meaning the situation here is that you need to coordinate something. You need to manage. like I said, manage is so much in use that it's moving my tongue, right? So let's just coordinate it. What is the task, right? Maybe it's a programs event, it's a programs, right? So you're coordinating programs proceeding to meet the vision of impacting 100 participants by the end of the third quarter. This is what I'm saying now. It's not an achievement. This is not the achievement. Coordinated let me give an example of a program. Coordinated the Hailers residency program for 2025 and impacted 300 participants with XYZ. Don't know the knowledge, I don't know whatever you're impacting with, but that is the flow, right? Not every time you have to maintain star. Sometimes you don't have situation. You just start from the task in itself. Sometimes just action and result. But at least if it's not star, let it be R. Right? If it's not star, let it be let it not be Buddha. If you know, you know. Let it not be Henneken, let it not be Goldberg. If you know, you know. All right, so we're gonna be moving on. Show, don't tell. So from vague duties to data-driven impact. I made mention of it. Thank God my example here is managed. I don't know why I have a beef with that word. Maybe I see it too much, right? If you have managed on your resume, sorry, please go and change it. All right, so strong resumes prioritize outcomes over activities. Outcomes over activities, just like we're saying achievements, not duties, right? So the vague duty says manage a team of 5 and was responsible for client retention. Why that is good when you're standing before a recruiter with other candidates, you want to rather say this: led a 5-person client success team, implementing a new retention strategy that improved client retention by 30% and reduced churn costs by $45,000. Now, remember what I said about making sure each bullet point no more than 2 lines. This is 3 lines now because you can see the space. But imagine if you were using the landscape, like I made mention. Of course, this is a 1.5 line at best, or 2 lines at best. But it covered what? It shows power, it shows leadership. You mentioned the number of people you worked with. It showed team spirit because you call them a team, you not just call them 5 persons. It shows what? Action you implemented. It shows initiative. You call it a new retention strategy. It shows outcome, calculated outcomes. So meaning you're a data-driven person. So meaning they're sharing KPIs with you. When you become a member of their team, you can manage KPIs. When you don't show all these things in your resume, they just feel like they are employing someone that is fresh out of school. And so when they give you KPIs, you will never meet them because it's not something you have been used to. So for every single role that you're going to be applying for, from the requirements, you will now know the things that you want to be using, the synonyms, the identifiers you want to be using in the bullet point, representing each achievement under any role, right? It's very important. If you don't take anything out of this session, just make sure that you are data driven in your activities. I see a message. Impact statement got me thinking. I definitely got something to change. Oh, fantastic, right? So this is the thing. Some of us don't have experiences that have impacts, and there is nothing anybody that is doing your CV can do for you. Even if you're doing your CV yourself, right? I don't recommend lies. I do my best to run away from lies. So I will not even lie for you on a resume, right? But if you want to lie, by all means, but I will not give you the advice. However, you want to now make sure, since you know this now, for every single thing I'm going to be doing going forward, have KPIs for yourself. Do you understand? Have KPIs for yourself and know how to collect data. When I worked in the non-profit industry as a programs officer, right, in the space of 3 to 4 years, we impacted 8,000 people with the programs, both the ones I facilitated, the ones I coordinated, and the ones I partnered as a programs officer for the organization. So when you see it on my resume, on my professional bio that says I've impacted 8,000 people, it's because it's not one event, it's not one program. I gathered the data from every single program and put it together, and it made up to 8,000 plus. So meaning if you're, of course, the first 1 year as a program website, I didn't even know those things were relevant until when I check people's websites, right? They will now see $100,000 in donation, 300 communities impacted. I was like, wow, so numbers are important. So I started doing work plans, and each work plan will have an expected outcome with the number of people we want to serve or impact. You want to do that with whatever job role you find yourself in. I can't stress that enough. Make sure you are working with KPIs wherever you are. So it makes writing your resume, it makes what? Writing your resume easier. It makes writing your resume easier. It makes writing your resume easier. So far, so good. Have you learned anything? Have you learned anything? Tell me on the comment section before we start discussing the 8 slides. We have just 3 more slides to go and we'll take questions. All right. Tell me if you're learning anything so far. And if you have, if you want to share what you have learned so far, just like Gare Joy did, tell us, right? What have you learned so far? Is this even, are you learning anything? Or we're just basically saying stuff you've heard? You're like, oh, this guy should get out. I've heard this thing 1,000 times, right? Is that what you're feeling? If that's what you're feeling, still tell us. Hopefully, maybe the remaining 3 slides will have something new for you. All right. So 1 or 2 comments. If you want to unmute your mic and speak, you can use the raise your hand feature, give you opportunity to speak, and then we continue the session. So I want to be sure I am not talking to myself. So comment section, let's have it. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam, for the thumbs up. So one more engagement to be sure that I'm not talking to myself, and then we can move on. One more. I'm waiting. I'm sitting relaxed. I'm resting my back now. So 1 more comment, and then we move on. All right. I see Dari. Joy, you can go ahead.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Gare.
Good evening.
Okay, you made a statement that said that not everything you do, or not every experience you had can be impactful, yes, or you can get an impact statement from. Am I right?
Yes, to a great extent. It depends on how you see it, though, but yes.
Okay, if that's the situation at hand, how else can you not fill that vacuum in your resume or CV?
All right, fantastic. So this is why I said it depends on the context. I'll give an example. All right. Let's say you're a nurse and you give injections. All right. And since you went to that hospital, let's say in the hospital, everybody that gives injections, at least 1 out of 10 injections break it, either in the arm or the buttocks of patients. And all through your time there was not one that broke, and you stayed there for 3 years. And in that space, you attended to 200, 300 patients. So you now find out that maybe you found out that the reason why these things happen is because not because nurses are not trained. They are using maybe a syringe that is not effective, just something. I'm giving an example now. When you want to say something like that on your resume, you're basically saying when you came into that space, you reduce the number of patients that went home with complaints of broken syringes because of your recommendation of this brand. That seems long, but I had to give that as an example so you can have an idea. Every single experience you have, you can turn it around. Not every single, most experiences you have. So if you find yourself in a space where all your experiences are not type that you can put data around, please make sure that whatever you're doing next, right, have KPIs. KPIs are key performance indicators. Have numbers. They're going to use to measure the impact of the work you're doing. Use those numbers to drive it back. So there's something people in non-profit do now, right? They say we have 13,000 plus hours in volunteering. They don't have money, so they cannot tell you that they have raised that amount of money, right? They don't have people that are paid staffs because they don't have the money to first pay them. So they're not going to tell you that they have the manpower of 200 people. So, but what can we now do? And we can't post impact. We can't post or have impacted 8 hours because we don't have the money. Let's get volunteers. But since we can't spotlight volunteers as membership strength of a team because they're not paid, we can spotlight the number of hours that they have worked. I don't know if you get the gist. So whatever it is you are doing, right? Think about it from a data perspective. If someone wants to collect data now from what I have done, what would they look out for? When you can find these things, you can infuse figures into any experience, into almost any experience that you've had. But if you're in a space where you have seen all these are my experiences, no data can come out, no stress, right? The next thing you're going to apply for, or the next job you want to start, right? Try and get data. Try and get data. Or you just volunteer somewhere and get data. And you're good to go. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Okay, so live activity, building your high impact draft, right? So let's apply the power that we just talked about here. Position yourself, outline your value, write with focus, elevate presentation, review and refine. All right. Now, this is supposed to be an engagement for every one of us on this call. I don't know how you guys are going to do it because I see that I've asked questions and I haven't gotten so much feedback, but let's hope that the energy will be fired up, right? Your professional summary. So you're going to write 2 to 3 line summary that positions you for a target role. So you can tell us what the role is. So let me assign this. Since there are 3 questions here, I will assign this, right? Let's do that. Let me see the participants. Okay, so I see, aside our wonderful note takers, we have Joy, we have Fred, we have Khadija, we have Christabel, we have Temi Olua, and we have Wealth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I guess the admin will join us. Okay, no, 6 is balanced, so 2 of each. All right, so we're gonna do this. A professional summary. So I'm gonna give 2 people to write this. So you write it and share with us in the comment section. Tell us, just write 2, 3 line summary, right, of that positions you for a target role. So you can pick a role: business analyst, economist, arts curator, content writer, whatever it is. Just pick one. When you pick one, oh, I see World. I think World ran away. All right, you pick one, and some of you may want to just go and copy your professional summaries now. But your professional summary, I know it's not 2 or 3 lines. It should be like 10 lines. How do you want to shrink it to 3 lines for us to catch you? All right, so I'm going to give that to Fred. So Fred will help us with 2 to 3 lines of professional summary. Fred will do that, and I think Christabel will do that as well. The second thing is the proof, right? 2 star experiences. Remember what we said about star? Who can remind us what star was standing for? Situation. What's the T for? Task. What's the A for? Action. What's the R for? Let's see. I think that should be result. That should be result. Yeah, situation, task, action, result. All right. So you list 2 key professional experiences, applying the STAR method to structure your bullet point. So let me see who's going to do that for us. So I've given Christabel and Fred the first one. So I'm going to give this second one to Temi Olua, right? I'm going to give that second one to Temi Olua. And then I'm going to give Khadija the last one, measurable achievement. Add 1 quantified achievement, right? So tell us 1 quantified achievement you've had. Yours is even the easiest, right? Maybe from your current work role, something you've done before, and then let's get the chat box paused. And we'll do this in the next 5 minutes, and then we'll go over the last 2 slides and we're done. All right, so I'm expecting your feedbacks. Temi Olua, please go ahead. You can speak. You're still unmuted.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for this opportunity, sir. Sir, I just joined the call. I do not really I was just getting to understand because I was late.
Okay, what did I say we were going to do initially? Was it the star one I told you or the measurable achievement? Which one?
I couldn't even place it. I just heard my name and I.
Okay. All right, so let's split it. I see that Joy has dropped her. So maybe Fred will help us with the star experiences so you can see that. And then Khadija, do you have a reservation as well? so you can do the one quantified achievement. All right, so let's see what we have here for the professional summary. So Joy says, professional summary, results-driven HR professional. So HR professional, specific role with expertise in recruitment, employee relations, performance management, and policy implementation to enhance organizational effectiveness. Can we have a round of applause for Joy? If you're not shy, if you're not jealous, please put your hands together for Joy. You can use the clap your hand emoji. You can drop clap emojis on the chat box. If you want to unmute your mics, you like this and blow your mind. You want to unmute your mics and you want to clap, by all means. Thank you, Khadija. Thank you, Temi. I don't know, is Christabel jealous? Is Fred jealous? Like I said, if you're not shy, if you're not jealous, congratulate Joy. I don't know if Fred is still on this call. Let's see. I realized that when we started this part, wealth ran away. Or taking notice of that. Okay, so kindly confirm that Fred, are you on this call? If you can hear me, drop a message on the chat box. All right. So while we wait on them to do that, we can just move ahead to the remaining parts of the slide. So we're not spending too much time. We cannot take questions. Okay, I think I see. No, I had emergency. Okay. All right. So Fred, what you're going to do for us is this, right? Joy has already done the professional summary. So for you're going to do the second one, the proof, STAR experience. Remember, STAR stands for situation, task, action, result. So list 2 key professional experiences, applying the STAR method to structure your bullet points. All right, 2 key professional experiences, applying the STAR method to structure your bullet points. And then Khadija is going to help us with 1 quantified achievement. Either you save time, generate revenue, reduce costs, whatever the case may be. Tell us. All right, so while you're doing that, we'll look at the last, second to the last slide, right? So it says elevating presentation, design, and format tips. I already made mention of some of these things. I made a session, so we're going to run through it as fast as we can. A clean layout reduces cognitive load and makes your content easier to scan. I kid you not when I say this. Oh, you didn't get your task. Okay, so we talked about STAR. STAR is just like a method of representing your experiences, right? So there's situation, there is task, there is action, there is result, all in one sentence. Let me give an example of what is STAR, a STAR experience is. This is a STAR experience. Led a 5-person client success team implementing a new retention strategy that improved client retention by 30% and reduced churn costs by $45,000. That's an example. It's still an example of what Khadija will have Khadija do, because it's a measurable achievement at the end of the day. So you share 2 of them for us, Fred. Khadija will share 1 for us, and then we'll move on. All right. Did you get that now? Oh, so Khadija has dropped hers. She says, increase brand engagement by 30% through strategic content creation and voice-driven storytelling. Put your hands together for Khadija. If you're not jealous and if you're not shy, put your hands together for Khadija. Khadija, are you a brand person? So we can cut. Let's know whether you not go to ChatGPT and go and copy and give us. Are you a brand person? Unmute your mic and say so that the world will hear your voice when you said you are a brand person.
Yes, I'm a brand
Thank
strategist.
you so much.
Oh, fantastic.
I'm sure everyone got something from the presentation.
All right, so we're pretty much done with the session, and it's time for us to move to questions. So like I said, what is on this slide is basically what I mentioned before. Use clean fonts, size 10, 12. Please maintain 12. It's when your content are too much, you can ask through down to 11 or 10. Maintain consistent spacing. Tools for success. You can design your series or your resumes on Canva. You can use Notion as well. And if they don't say so, make sure you, if they, unless they say otherwise, make sure you submit in PDF format. All right. And yeah, so your next steps basically is target a role, right? Identify 2 or 3 specific target roles, outline how you would tailor your professional summary. This is just your personal stuff, right? Your professional summary, your 2 achievement bullet points for each role's requirement. You know, I told you it shouldn't be more than 4, right? But do your best to stay at least minimum 2, right? Immediate action, commit updating your resume draft within the next 7 days. I update my resume at least once a month, right? Maybe because I have other things that I do that needs updating. But even if you don't, still just check it. Maybe you find an error. Share your insights. Share one key takeaway from this particular workshop and what has been your biggest aha moment while I hand over to Mr. Sam. So drop it on the comment section. Tell us what the biggest aha moment was on this session. And thank you for joining us. You can always find me on LinkedIn and connect with me. Same name, Gare Oke-Eriemo, and on Instagram, Gare Oke-Eriemo. So tell us, what were your biggest aha moments? Let's get the chat box buzzing. Let's be sure that we didn't waste anybody's time. All right. And then I would now hand over to Sam. And yes, if you have questions, I think we have 5 minutes. If you have questions, you can drop them now. I'm waiting for your aha moment, unless they weren't. And I doubt that. So please tell us. We want to hear. All right. I think Joy has a question. So Joy, by all means, let's keep it brief so we can give time for other people to ask questions. Go ahead.
Okay. To someone that has no experience whatsoever.
Yeah.
Probably someone that just graduated from school and has no experience, has not gone to serve yet, or NYC or anything. What would you? How would you advise the person to design his CV or resume? Because that's what it is.
Yeah.
To me, I think it's all about what you've done and what you can do. So what would you say about it?
So you make the most of what you have. When I write resumes for people that want to apply to school, I list the relevant coursework under each educational qualification. So in this person's case, you want to find relevant coursework in what you've done in your BSc or your HND or your OND that relates to the job you're applying for, and you slotted it there, right? If it's a job that demands research, you want to now throw in the research paper you did for your graduate, maybe your project work, right? If it's BSc, right? But then I would advise this: by all means, as a student, have at least 1 volunteering experience. Of course, the question you asked for someone that obviously did not have the voluntary experience. That's why I shared that at first. But if you are in school and you're saying, oh my God, I've not worked, I don't have 1 year experience, use your volunteering experience to build that 1 year experience so you can have achievements to show when you're applying for entry-level positions. All right. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. All right. One more question. Okay, so Fred has dropped his contribution. That is using the STAR model. Drove business development strategies that contributed to a 150% revenue growth for the organization, demonstrating strong ability to generate new business and exceed targets. Wait a minute, I asked us to clap for Khadija. I didn't see any clap. Now clap for Khadija and then clap for Fred. If I see only guys clapping for Fred, then I will know that you guys are misogynistic. You're not clapping for women. Hold you to ransom. All right, so pretty much done. I don't see any other questions. We're pretty much done with this session. So I will hand over to Mr. Sam now. Sam, are you there? Sam, are you there? All right, I don't know. Oh, okay. Fred says his network is terrible. I don't know that Sam is still here. So, anyways, we have just 1 minute. Any other question? If you don't have any question,